By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are once again back in Zeeland, the Netherlands, for the finals of the Seaman Cup. And man, in this finals we've got two very strong decks. In the semifinals you already saw Luc. He is of course playing Counterburn, a top deck, but he's now taking on Belgian player Baptiste. And Baptiste, he's always playing, well, always, most of the time, correct me if I'm wrong, Baptiste, most of the time he's playing blue-white, mid-range, control-ish decks, and this time is no difference. He brought with him a very strong blue and white deck, also known as Triple S, because it plays Savannah Lions, Suchi, and Serra Angel. A very good deck, but of course the Counterburn deck of Luc is also a deck not to underestimate, and in this final they're going face to face, so I can't wait to show you the match and of course the decks, because I've got lovely deck photos of both of these decks. But before I start with the deck tech section of the video, I would first like to point out that as always you can also skip that section, maybe check it out after the game. I know some people prefer to do that. The easiest way to do this is by checking out the description below. There you will find several timestamps. One of the timestamps reads MTG Games. Just click on there, it'll take you straight to the games. And in that same description below, you can also find a link to the Timmy Talks Patreon page, because yes, I've got my very own Patreon program. So if you enjoyed the content that I make, please consider becoming a supporter of the show, a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information. So thank you for doing that. Maybe after this video or before you check out the rest of the video, you've got my eternal gratitude. Okay, and now we're going to start with the deck techs. I'm going to start with Luc and his Counterburn deck. Let's have a look. And here we see the deck of Luc. So this is really your classic Counterburn deck, right? Counterburn named after the card Counterspell, and then of course the burn after the lightning bolts, and in this case the chain lightnings and the psionic blasts. So there's a lot of firepower in this deck, and of course he's also playing with the 5th Counterspell, Mana Drain, and oh boy, what a good card that is. I just think in general, looking at this deck, it's just really, really good. There's a reason that Counterburn has been kind of a top tier deck in old school for, well, ever since we've had this old school format 93-94, and before that actually. So what we're seeing here, the creature base is also quite aggressive. That really fits with the direct damage strategy. We see 4 Surrender Befriets, of course Mitras Factories, which I also count as creatures in this case. And then we see 2 Ironclaw Orcs, only 2, not a play set. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of people go for 4 Flying Men and 4 Serendips, or go with 4 Ironclaw Orcs and 4 Serendips. In this case, Luc has chosen to go for 2 Ironclaw Orcs. I think he wanted to make space for those Blood Moons, 2 Blood Moons main. And Blood Moon, of course, is a great card because you know you're going to run into a lot of 5-color good stuff decks, which is another very popular deck in old school. And then, of course, with those Blood Moons, you can punish those greedy mana bases. So Blood Moon can be quite a showstopper, for example, when you're playing against the deck. On the other hand, the deck also has answers to the Blood Moon. So don't get me wrong, Blood Moon is not like an auto win against those decks, but they could be good against 5-colored decks. Then when we're looking at the sideboard, we kind of see the usual suspects, the blue Elemental Blasts. We see the red Elemental Blasts in there, some more burn with the Fireball. We see some Suchis, which is interesting, right? 2 Suchis in the side, or is it just 1 Suchi? It's hard to see. I think there are 2. And one of the things he can do is if his opponent is playing with, let's say, the Abyss, he can board out the Ironclaw Orcs and board in the Suchis, and also board in some extra Shatters when he's playing against an artifact-heavy deck. Okay, so this is the deck of Luc. Now let's take a look at the deck of his opponent. And here we see the deck of Baptiste. So this is really your blue-white kind of mid-range deck, right? We see these decks quite a lot, and you know, what I always find interesting is just to zoom in and look at the subtle differences. So this version is usually referred to UWSS because of what I already said in the introduction, the 3 creatures that start with an S, Savannah Lions, Sushi, and Serra Angel. It's interesting how he laid out his deck, by the way, because on the left you can see the dice, and those kind of indicate how many copies he has of each card. So it's 4, you see that 4 in the left top corner kind of, right, on the playmat there. That means he's got 4 Tundras, 4 Factories, 4 Lions, 4 Swords, 4 Counterspells, 4 Suchis. And, you know, this deck, like I said, you see it a lot for the obvious reasons, because if you play blue and white, you've got access to the blue power, you've got access to counter magic, you've got Psionic Blast, also a very strong card, you've got Brain Geyser. Those cards are just incredibly strong in old school, and because you're playing with white, that is just as important because it gives you access to Swords to Plowshares and Disenchant. Those are simply the cleanest ways to get rid of stuff of your opponent. You also have your Serra Angel, arguably one of the best creatures, maybe the best creature in old school. And then what I really like about white is balance. Balance will always give you a way out. Even if you're so far behind, you're like, okay, you're going to lose 99% of the time, but you have one out, and that out is usually balance. And that's why you keep playing. Also, when you combine it with those two black cards, again, what a lot of players do for obvious reasons, Demonic Tutor, Mind Twist. Demonic Tutor means you've got a double chance of finding that silver bullet, maybe that balance to get you back in the game, maybe that Time Walk giving you the extra turn to win the game, and maybe in this case the City in a Bottle, which is also in this deck. City in a Bottle, quite an interesting choice. Some players, of course, go for Serendip Efreet, an incredibly strong card, but the problem with Serendip is, well, actually there are two problems. It deals a damage to you during your upkeep, meaning if the opponent has mazes or a control-like deck, it could actually kill yourself, so it's a little bit risky. The other main reason not to play the Efreet that much is the City in a Bottle. City in a Bottle is or has been a real issue, but while I'm saying this, I'm also realizing that in the City in a Bottle era, because I now kind of feel we're seeing less City in a Bottles again, that in the City in a Bottle era, we often saw decks with Serendip Efreet still making it to the finals, still winning tournaments. So apparently the problem wasn't that big. But still, City in a Bottle, really, really good card. Another card I want to highlight in this deck is the single copy of Divine Offering. I find Divine Offering such a good answer to Suchi. Suchi, of course, being very powerful in Swedish. Why? Because we're not playing with Mana Burn. But you do have to realize it is a 4/4, basically vanilla creature. And it's very vulnerable because it's also an artifact. So when you play Divine Offering on it, it means your opponent has invested 4 mana, you invest 2 mana, and for that you don't only destroy the Suchi, but you also gain 4 life. It's, in my opinion, the cleanest way to get rid of the Suchi, the best way probably in the format to deal with a Suchi. You know what? And if you play blue in some decks, you can also first copy it and then Divine Offering it. That would be really insult after injury. By the way, we don't see copy artifacts in this deck. So like I said, when I'm looking at a deck like this, it's all about subtle differences. We see no Serendip. We do see 4 counter spells, for example, only 2 Serra Angels. A lot of players choose to play with 3 Serra Angels. And we're seeing that Divine Offering and some other, small little things. But I mean, overall, this is really a tier 1 deck. And I'm not surprised to see it here in the finals versus Luc. Okay, so that kind of sums up the decks today. That means we are ready to go to the finals of the Seaman Cup. Enjoy. Game number 1 of the finals is about to begin. On the left, we have Luc, who is on Counterburn, and he's on the play, I believe. On the right, we have Baptiste, and he is on a blue-white triple S, referring to Savannah Lions, Suchis, and Serra Angels. Oh, look at this opening here by Luc, starting with a Library of Alexandria. Are we going to have one of those games? There's not a lot of land removal in the deck of Baptiste. I mean, let me think. He's got access, of course, to Strip Mine, Chaos Orb, and he has access to, of course, the City in a Bottle, which would be quite good for him. Does have some Moxen in hand, it seems. There's a Mox Jet there. I believe I saw a Mox Emerald earlier, playing with all the Moxen in the deck. And I think if you don't have an answer, what you want to do is just put immediate pressure on. Here we see a Mox Ruby, so perhaps the Mox Emerald was a Mox Ruby. So Mox Jet, Mox Ruby. What else are we going to see? Are we going to see a land as well? There's an island in hand there as well. He's pulling that to the front. Tapping 2. Are we now going to see a Demonic Tutor? There's the Demonic Tutor. Okay, so could go for Strip Mine. I think that's the cleanest solution here. Could also go for City in a Bottle. But that would mean that you're giving probably Luc 1 activation from the Loa. And why would you do that? So I'm kind of expecting him to just go for a Strip Mine here also because he didn't play out a land yet. There we see stacking up the deck. Oh, there is an island. Okay. Oh, and there's an emerald. Is he then going for a City in a Bottle here? There's a City in a Bottle. Yeah, I mean, City in a Bottle, of course, is a long-term value for him. Very clean answer. And, of course, he still had that Mox Emerald, so I was correct with spotting that. That meant that he had enough mana as well to play the City in a Bottle the same turn. So in this particular case, City in a Bottle was the better pick because he could play it out that turn. Now let's see what Luc can do. There's a Volcanic Island and passing the turn. And of course, not a lot of cards left in hand anymore for Baptiste, starting with those 3 Moxen. I believe he's got 3 or 4 cards in that hand now. 3 cards, I believe. Yeah, 3 cards for him. And still a lot of cards here in hand for Luke. And I wonder if we're going to see like a busy counter war here with both players having access to blue. There's the second blue here for Luke passing the turn. So keeping those 2 blue open. There's a plains. Needs, of course, 2 plains to play out a Serra Angel. Playing 2 Serra Angels in the deck. There we see a Badlands and a pass. So Luke also is splashing those 2 black cards in his deck. Mind Twist and the Demonic Tutor. 4 cards in hand now for Baptiste just to pass. And of course, Luke can now no longer play out his Surrender Profits. The City in a Bottle is also blocking that. So the City in a Bottle is doing a lot of work here. Could be doing a lot of work here for Baptiste without Baptiste even realizing it. There's another island here, so 4 lands for Luke. And also just a pass, so both players kind of just draw and go at the moment. And also just a pass, not even playing out a land here. 5 cards in hand. End of turn. What are we going to see? A Psionic Blast, perhaps. There's a Psionic Blast on the life total here of Baptiste. What else? Are we also going to see a Bolt here? Oh, and there's a Bolt. Super aggressive. Look at him go. So that means Baptiste dropping to 13. And I mean, this burn plan is not a bad plan, actually. It's better than just sitting back and doing nothing. Putting Baptiste here on 13. I wonder if he's got another way to put some pressure here on that life total. Gonna tap. Ooh, there's a Chain Lightning. There we go. Gonna put him on 10. So half this life here. In a very, very quick fashion. Tapping 3. What else are we gonna see? Oh, there's, I love this. Yep, there's the Time Twister. This explains everything. I'm like, wow, he's dumping his hand. Are we going to see a counterspell now? That's the question. Does Baptiste have a counterspell? I think if you have one, I would play it out, to be honest. Because all that burn is coming back. Nope. Okay, both players are going to shuffle. I'm liking this. Very nice timed time twister here by Luke. And to be honest, I kind of thought maybe he's just like, okay, this game's going nowhere. I'm going to try to burn him out. I've got so much burn in hand. I'll put him on 10. Maybe he had another Psionic Blast in hand. That's what I thought. Put him on 6, and let's really quickly work, you know, towards killing Baptiste purely on direct damage, which is what his deck can actually do. He doesn't need a creature to attack with. He's got enough burn. But this was, of course, an ideal scenario for Luke, kind of emptying all that burn in his hand, putting Baptiste on 10, and then playing that Time Twister. Time Twister being just an amazing card in decks like this. So shuffling up. And I've been playing Time Twister myself recently in my Eureka deck. It's just a lot. It's so much fun. You just want to draw all those draw 7s in those decks, because as soon as you have a Eureka, you can just dump your hand. So then you want to draw into a draw 7, obviously, to get the Eureka back in the deck, but also kind of to draw new cards and dump that again. It's really nice. When it works, you know. Often it doesn't, but when it does, it's great. So here we see both players cutting the decks, drawing a fresh 7. And so far, it's a really interesting final. This is just game 1. So 18 for Luke and 10 here for Baptiste. And one Volcanic still open. I believe he already had his land drop. Okay, there we see the hand. It's a little bit too close. I think I saw a Rain Geyser and a Disenchant and a lot of lands. That's what I think. But it's nice, Baptiste, that you're sharing it with us. Always interesting to see those hands. Okay, here we see the hand of Luke. That went too quick, man. I saw a Blood Moon. I saw a Lightning Bolt, something blue, and some lands. I think the hand, to be honest, I think the hand of Luke looked a little bit better. Then again, a Blood Moon, is it going to be good against this board of Baptiste? I don't think so. It's only going to take the Underground Sea turn into a mountain. So he's probably not going to play that out. Anyway, let's first see what Baptiste can do. Oh, there's a Demonic Tutor. Did he just draw that from the top, or was it in the hand that he showed? I think he found that from the top, but this is really, really good for Baptiste. And now I'm kind of expecting him to go for like an Ancestral Recall. Of course, depending on what he has in hand. Another good card here could be a Brain Geyser. Or, oh, look at that card he's put at the front. Oh, yeah, of course, the Mind Twist. It shows how innocent I am that I'm not thinking about Mind Twist first. Mind Twist here being really good with all the Moxen out as well. Now the question for Baptiste is, do you fire off the Mind Twist right now? Or do you do it next turn so you can play a bigger Mind Twist, but have a risk of, you know, getting the Mind Twist countered? Because right now we only see one land open for Luke, so it's kind of a duck season here for Baptiste, right? You say duck season as in like it's open, it's really easy now to play the card. Anyway, there's a Mox Pearl. I think he didn't have a land drop yet. Oh, there's a land drop. So you can play a Mind Twist here for 2 for 5. Yeah, I would do it. Yes. Don't even have to think about this. There's a Mind Twist for 5. Wow. There we see a tap though. There's a Bolt, putting him on 7. Oh, this game is gonna it's so close. So there we see the Mind Twist. He's gonna keep only 1 card, I think. Gonna throw the dice here to determine what card's gonna be kept. These are the cards that he's losing. Ooh, look at that Psionic Blast. Couldn't put him on 3 with that blast. So very, very intense match here. And for Luke, it's all about the top decks. Is he going to find, for example, a Wheel of Fortune? That would be the best draw for him from the top, I think. Another good draw would be Ancestral Recall. Also, a Brain Geyser would be quite nice. We allow him to draw 3 cards. So 1 card left in hand. After the draw, 2 cards in hand. Wonder what that 1 card is. Baptiste on 7. Luke, of course, still pretty high up with 18.
Chain Lightning to the face.
Tapping. Oh, there's a Chain Lightning. Oh, he's on 4. 1 Psionic Blast and he's done in game number 1. This is the thing. This is the life that you lead as a control player, right? Often you can stabilize, but at what cost? And now you're on 4. And yes, you've got more cards. And yes, you should win it long term. But are you going to get to the long term? Because maybe you're dead before that moment comes. But do remember, Baptiste, of course, is playing with 4 counterspells and a mana drain. So wants to keep counter magic up, of course. And unfortunately, we cannot see the entire board. So he's got an island there all the way on the left side and a Mox Jet. And now asking about the graveyard of Luke. Like, how many burn spells do you have in there? Which is a good question, a fair question for Baptiste to ask here, being on 4. Going through the motion. Okay, there's a Tundra. I mean, what else can he do? I would be tempted to just attack here with the factory. Because, you know, what if he puts a bolt on it? That's actually what you want him to do. Because you don't want to take 3 to the face. So let him bolt the factory if he wants to. Looks like he first wants to play something out. Was tapping and untapping some Mox in here. Played the Tundra as a land for turn. I believe 5 cards in hand. Really in the tank here. I think I do see a Brain Geyser amongst them. So maybe he's considering playing a Brain Geyser. Super risky though, because then you have to tap double blue. No longer have access to a counter spell. Looks like he is going to go for it though. Or is that another card he wants to play out? He's tapped 2 blue. Yeah, I think it's going to be a Brain Geyser here. Taking a pretty big risk if you ask me. But if it resolves, and if you survive the next turn, you're golden. Let's first see if it is a Brain Geyser. If it is a Brain Geyser, he's playing it for 6. Oh, he's going to tap the Tundra as well. No, he's going to untap it again. Really in the tank here. And it has to be a Brain Geyser. I cannot think of another card. Exactly, it's a Brain Geyser. So also tapping the Tundra. Wow, so a Brain Geyser for 7. And it does resolve. No counter spell from Luke. 7 cards being drawn. And now, of course, he can select. Already played out a land for turn. Looks like he's going to discard 2 cards there. Yeah, double City of Brass. That makes sense. With the City in a Bottle, you cannot play them out. I think he still has too many cards, or does he have 7 now? Looks like he's got more than 7. Yeah, I think he's still not deciding what else to discard. I mean, the 2 City in a Bottles were pretty easy. Now it's time to make the hard decisions. Putting 1 card aside there. Sometimes what helps me in these situations is to just, instead of what card do I want to discard, put the cards on that I really want to keep. So those 2 cards seem to be the cards that he's considering to discard. So I guess he's got 9 in hand and has to discard 2 more. And like I said, I mean, this is a risky play. Because if Luke has another Psionic Blast, but I guess he doesn't have it in hand or else he would have played it out already. But if he draws a Psionic Blast from the top, it is his game. And it looks like Baptiste has kind of decided on, okay, so there's a city in, sorry, a Library of Alexandria and a Tundra there going to the graveyard. And now passing the turn. So discarded 4 cards in total. 7 cards left in hand. Passing the turn to Luke. Untap, upkeep. Now going to his draw step. Or are we going to see a Psionic Blast? I guess not, or else he would have slammed it on the table. Or are we going to see? Oh, Wheel of Fortune! For a moment there, I thought it was going to be a Psionic Blast because he tapped 3. Shatter, that was the card that he had in hand. Oh, look at that hand of Baptiste. 3 Savannah Lions. Also a Chaos Orb in there. No counter magic, by the way. And a brand new hand there for Luke, finding a lot of Serendipity Freaks there that are useless. Because of the City in a Bottle. Could have, of course, played out the Shatter on the City in a Bottle. Chose not to. Could have done Shatter and then play Wheel. Then he could have played out the Serendips. But I think he was hoping to find another Psionic Blast and just play that out directly and win on the spot. But yeah, unfortunately for Luke, no Psionic Blast found. And now Baptiste is untapping again, and I'm assuming that this time he does have a counterspell in hand, right? There's another Mox, so all Moxen are on the battlefield. We cannot see the Mox jet, but it's there. Playing out a Mishra's Factory. What else are we going to see here? Tapping 3. Or not, untapping again. I mean, I think if I'm Baptiste, what you really want to do is just put some creatures on the board, right? Put some pressure on the life total of Luke. The more turns you give Luke, the higher the chances that he's going to find that Psionic Blast and win game 1 here. I mean, it looks like he's thinking about playing a Suchi, having those 4 mana there in that left corner, taking the basic planes away again. Yeah, I think Baptiste really realizes like how low his life total is and like how difficult the situation is here. But I think, but again, it's easy from my position here in the commentator chair. It's just to keep counter magic open, play a creature if you have it. If you don't have it, I would just animate the factory and try to attack for 3. And even if I don't have counter magic, I would always pretend to have counter magic. Kind of forcing Luke to, you know, try to play around it. So we see Baptiste still here in the tank. And Luke kind of rearranging here the graveyard, pretty relaxed. Okay, he's gonna tap 4. Are we gonna see a Suchi? Gonna tap 5. There's a Serra Angel. Has, of course, the Mox Pearl and the white, so tapping 5 for Serra Angel, 4/4 flyer. That doesn't have to tap when attacking. There's a counterspell on the Serra Angel. Are we going to see a counterspell war? Again, if I was Baptiste, I would just take this. I wouldn't protect it with counter magic because you're on 4, but that's what I would do. Baptiste, of course, made it all the way to the final, so I'm pretty sure that he can make an accurate assessment. And of course, what's important to note is that we cannot see the basic island on the left side of Baptiste's screen. So, for example, if he has a double counterspell in hand, he can counter now, still keep 2 blue open. But the counterspell resolves. Serra Angel is gone. Baptiste is passing the turn. Choosing to keep 4 blue open. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest. I would be that's what I would do. But again, I'm not in the finals. I would animate the factory with the factory, attack for 2 and keep 4 blue open for counter magic. But definitely try to attack for 2, put him on 16. Why not? Again, if he bolts it, fine. If he plays his shatter, also fine. Here we see another Mishra's factory, now played out by Luke. Yeah, and I think if you're Luke, what you really want to do is try to get rid of the city in a bottle, because I believe he's got 2 Surrender Befrites in hand. So if he can shatter the city in a bottle, he can start playing out the Surrender Befrites. Oh, there's an Ancestral Recall on end step. Or we're going to see a counterspell here again by Luke. Or is he choosing to counter the meat instead? And what I mean by that is choosing not to counter the Ancestral Recall, but maybe what he's going to cast with the Ancestral Recall. We do see a counterspell by Luke. And a counterspell by Baptiste. Okay, so actually for Luke, this is not too bad because you're playing a counterspell out of the hand here. And only 1 blue opener for Baptiste. So if Luke has a Psionic Blast... No, he doesn't. Oh, that was one of those moments again. I feel Baptiste is taking a lot of risk. Maybe you have to. He's getting away with it. And I think what you often see with these players is that they're very good at kind of reading what the opponent has. You also see a lot of like former poker players doing quite well in Magic. So maybe Baptiste kind of feels, okay, Luke doesn't have that Psionic Blast, so I can play this counter spell here to protect my Ancestral Recall. He's gonna tap, or not. It looked like he was gonna tap the Mox in here. Again, having, of course, a pretty full hand after that resolved Ancestral Recall. Tapping 2. Okay, just gonna attack. Finally attacking here for 4, showing some aggression. Putting Luke here on 14. Does he have 7 in hand? I think he does, passing the turn back to Luke. And he's kind of signaling to Luke that he's got a disenchant for that factory, right? Because for Luke it's very tempting to now just attack with the 2-2. But you know you're probably going to run into a disenchant if you do. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, what Luke's going to do. He is close to a victory, but then again, he's very far away. Looking at that full grip of cards of Baptiste, having 4 blue open. Remember the basic island we cannot see. He is animating, kind of inviting Baptiste here to respond. Yeah, there's a disenchant. I would have been really surprised if we wouldn't see a disenchant here. There's a disenchant. And there's the pass. So we're probably just going to see another attack for 4 at least by Baptiste, putting Luke here on 10. And then it's going quite fast, actually. If he then also can play out, for example, a Suchi. So first attacking for 4. Put him on 10. I believe he's got 2 more Mox in there, right? So tapping 2 more Mox in. Oh, just 1. Okay, Mox Pearl, I guess, playing out the Savannah line, passing the turn. Yeah, this is tough for Luke. So next turn he's going to take 6. He'll also be on 4. Tapping the Badlands. Oh, there's a Bolt, putting him on 1. Or are we going to see a counterspell? I would actually take the damage here. Because if you counter it and he plays a Psionic Blast after, you lose the game. Again, it's easy from my position here. I think I would just take the damage, you know, because to be honest, there's not... On the other hand, if you're on 1, you're also vulnerable to chain lightnings and more lightning bolts, but you can always counter those. Of course, it also depends how many counterspells he has in hand. If he's got 2 counterspells in hand, I would consider countering this. Okay, there's a Swords to Plowshares on his own lion. But does that really solve the problem, though? Because that means he gains 2, so he goes to 1 and then goes up to 3 life. That's actually not that great. Because if you're on 3, yep, there's the chain lightning. You need a counterspell for this. Like on 4, like 1 or 3, that's not really a difference, is there? In my opinion, at least. Against this deck. Because you got to think of the chains and the bolts. Like 4 is different, because with 4 you cannot be killed with a chain or a bolt. Anyway, here we see the chain lightning. I'm expecting a counterspell here. He's going to animate. Are we going to see another... Oh, look at that. There's another Swords to Plowshare. So he's going to go up to 5. And then he's going to drop to 2, I believe. But of course, Luke can now respond to this. So he animates it into a 2-2. And then he puts the Swords to Plowshares on it. So that would mean 2 life gained. You'd go up to 5. And after that... the chain lightning will resolve. So both players here discussing the situation. And now, of course, if Luke has another bolt... Oh, he doesn't have another red, by the way. If he has a Psionic Blast, he can win here. Okay, so this is a gunner, so he's going to go up to 5. Then he's going to take 3. He's going to go down to 2 again. Wow, what a game. What a game. Crazy, crazy, crazy. There's the pass. And the fact that he had 2 swords also explains the bolting of the Savannah Lions more. Like, I can understand it better because he had 2 swords in hand. There's a shatter here. Okay, finding a shatter. Remember, he's got a hand full of surrender Befriets. So playing that shatter, are we going to see a response here? Gonna tap 4. What are we going to see? Okay, there's a Suchi. Or is he not playing that shatter? A little bit confused here. Thought that I saw a shatter on the City in a Bottle, but perhaps he was showing the shatter that was in his graveyard, saying I should have shattered it. Anyway, there's the attack for 2. So he's dropping to 8. Untap, upkeep, draw. Can he find that burn spell and then can it resolve? He's on 8. So next turn he's going to probably take 6. Going to drop to 2. Baptiste, of course, being on 2 at the moment. Can he find that final burn spell? I also wonder how much burn is already in that graveyard. It's going to tap 3. What are we going to see? Ooh, there's a Blood Moon. Okay, I keep thinking about the Psionic Blast when he taps 3. It's a Blood Moon. Blood Moon is not, you know, great for Baptiste, but not that bad. It takes out, of course, his Mishra's Factory, but I mean, he still needs 2 attacks to win the game. Still has the Suchi. Are we going to see Counterspell, though? There's a mana drain on the Blood Moon. I would be so much into like the protection mode, not wanting to get any burn. But maybe he can finish the game already. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing. He's got, of course, a 3 mana now from the mana drain. Is, of course, playing with Psionic Blast himself as well. But as far as I can tell, he can just have a nice clean attack of 6 here. Put Luke on 2. And then win it the next turn. But maybe he can win it already, and that's the reason why he countered this Blood Moon. Okay, looking in the graveyard, perhaps he's got a recall. If he has a recall, maybe he can find a way of getting the Psionic Blast back. So first going to animate, having 2 floating. Could play a recall on the Psionic Blast, try to win it this turn, or could go for the save line. Well, actually, I'm saying Psionic Blast, but he can't because, because he's on 2. Psionic Blast would mean, in the best circumstance, making it a draw. That's probably not what you want to do. So I guess you want to recall, if you have a recall, recall for a counterspell if you don't have that in hand. Looking in the graveyard again. Going to combat, so that means the mana, exactly, the mana disappears from the drain. So it's gonna attack for 6. Gonna put Luke on 2. Passing the turn, okay. Last chance for Luke. Can he find the last burn spell? Tapping. Psionic Blast! Wow, that would make it a draw, or are we gonna see a counter spell? Are we gonna see a draw here? Or do we have a Divine Offering? There's the Divine Offering. Oh, and that means he wins here by Divine Offering. Oh, wow, what a spectacular first game. And yeah, here we see the hand of Luke. And I think Luke is really feeling bad about not playing that Shatter out in that first game. You know, that moment where he played out Wheel of Fortune and kind of put the Shatter in the bin. And I mean, you did that for a reason, right? You wanted to find that Psionic Blast close the game. But what if you would have played the Shatter? But hey, that is magic. This was just game number 1 though, so both players are going to dive into their sideboards, and we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. Baptiste, of course, 1 game up, meaning Luke, the player on the left, will be on the play. Look at his hand here. Soul Ring, a double Psionic Blast, a Lightning Bolt, and Lance. So just a lot of direct damage, and that's pretty much it. Let's see what Baptiste is working with here in game 2. Okay, that looks better in my opinion. Has a counterspell, Disenchant, Swords, Maze, and that Suchi. So did board in the Maze from the sideboard, probably against the potential Serendips, Maze being a great answer to a Serendip. There we see the island into the Soul Ring, and probably just a pass here, exactly. And I think I didn't see any Moxen for Baptiste, exactly, just playing a single land, passing a turn. Let's see what Luke can do. Or is he going to play, for example, a Psionic Blast here? Is he going to play aggressive? Or did he find something useful from the top? Perhaps a Serendip Efreet? Playing a Volcanic Island? Looks like he is going to tap 3. Oh, a Time Walk. I was expecting a Serendip here. Time Walk could be better. Just a card found from the top. So going to draw another one. There's a Badlands. It looks like he's going to play something else out. Oh, there's a Brain Geyser. What a great opening here for Luke. Drawing 3 cards from the Brain Geyser. And all that Baptiste can do is just say, okay, carry on. And now finally he gets to take his second turn. There's an Underground Sea, meaning that he now has Counter Magic open. Remember, he had a Disenchant, Swords, and Counterspell in his hand. So very controlling, problem-solving hand, you could say. Let's see what Luke can do. Can he kind of use all that mana to his advantage? Okay, gonna tap 4. Oh, look at this, a Mind Twist. Gonna twist the hand of Baptiste for 3 here. Or are we gonna see, well, probably we're gonna see the counterspell, of course. And then the question is, does Luke have a red Elemental Blast? He does have a red Elemental Blast. Wow, what a great start here for Luke. This is really perfect for him. So 3 cards taken away. And of course, he also drew 3 extra cards with the Brain Geyser. And he got an extra turn. So really good start for Luke. Unfortunately, the graveyard there is out of sight. We can't see it. So it's very unfortunate. Would have loved to see what he discarded. So Baptiste still having 4 cards in hand after the draw. I mean, you know, if he can find Ancestral Recall or some kind of draw 7, he's in a good position again, or maybe a balance, of course. Anyway, passing the turn here, not playing out a land. Let's see what Luke can do. I think if you're Luke, you just really need to put some pressure on. He's not doing it though, just passing the turn. And is he now allowing Baptiste back in the game? Baptiste also just passing, cannot find any more mana. There's a Psionic Blast. Gonna put Baptiste on 16 and Luc on 18. We're also gonna see a bolt here on end step. Also a bolt. Is he now emptying his hand to perhaps play a Wheel of Fortune? So Baptiste should drop it to 13, by the way. It looks like he's still on 16, but should drop it to 13. Wow! This is a very good strip mine. There's a disenchant here. Are we going to see a counterspell on the disenchant? So a strip mine here, then there's the disenchant. It looks like we're going to get a counterspell. Yep, there's the counterspell countering away the disenchant, passing the turn. So again, Baptiste should be on 13 here. I do believe both players are also tracking their life totals on paper, so hopefully it's not going to affect the match too much. There's a Mox Sapphire found from the top, I guess, passing the turn. So Baptiste still having issues there with the mana. Tapping. Ooh, there's a Serendip Efreet. Are we going to see a counterspell here on the Serendip? And now remember that Baptiste, of course, had that Maze of If in his opener, but we don't know if it got mind twisted away. And now the life total is corrected, so that's good to see. 13 for Baptiste, 18 for Luc. There is a counterspell. Are we going to see another red Elemental Blast? And that is, of course, a nice plus for Luc, that he gets to board in those red Elemental Blasts. And those are, of course, sideboard cards that Baptiste doesn't have access to, because he's not playing with red. Gonna tap 3 more. Another one. Oh, a Psionic Blast here. To the face. To the dome. Look at that Baptiste on 9. And that's all damage dealt with direct damage. 2 Psionic Blasts and a Lightning Bolt. Finally, Baptiste finds another land. So there's a Plains. Plains, Underground Sea, and Mox Sapphire on the board for him. But remember in game 1, oh, there's City in a Bottle again. That did so much work in game 1. And what I wanted to say is, remember game 1 where Baptiste was very low for the longest time, but he still managed to get the win. Or are we going to see a scenario like that again unfold here in game 2? So Luc here tapping 2. Okay, there's a Demonic Tutor. Of course, Baptiste only having the single Plains open, but kind of has to let Luc do his thing. And I really wonder what Luc's going to look up. I mean, do you want to draw 7? I don't think so. You don't want to give Baptiste new cards. You could go for Ancestral Recall here. You could also do, well, Brain Geyser you already played out. It's kind of difficult here. You could also go for Burn, saying he's already on 5. Yeah, he is going to go for a draw 7. Okay. I'm liking it. So he is going to go for the Time Twister. Pretty spectacular. I would have been tempted to go for the Saver play, if it's safer, I know, but for Ancestral Recall, then again, with Time Twister, you're going to shuffle back in all your direct damage, and of course, Baptiste is already on 9, so you're probably going to find some direct damage now in your top 7. If it's a Bolt or a Chain, you can play it out, put him on 6, and then he's very close to dying, and then you can make it a 1-1 and go to that decisive game number 3, but of course, we're not there yet. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, would you have also played out the Time Twister, or would you have gone for the Ancestral Recall? Again, I can also understand, you know, the draw 7 because you're shuffling back your library with all that direct damage. On the other hand, I mean, you're giving your opponent a full grip of cards. That kind of is a feel bad. Then again, it's also fun to draw 7. I mean, I think I would have gone for the Saver play with the Ancestral Recall. Then again, maybe your 3 cards are just going to be worthless. Anyway, let's see what's going to happen next. See him tapping 2 cards. Okay, there is a Chaos Orb.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder if it's going to flip on the City in a Bottle here. I would be tempted. Well, then again, if you use it now, you don't have 2 blue open anymore to counter. The thing is, if you use it now, you know for sure that Baptiste cannot play Disenchant in response. Anyway, Luke passing the turn here. So choosing not to do it, keeping counter magic open instead. Okay, there's a Max Emerald being played out by Baptiste. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying this final so far. Game 1 was really a thriller, and Game 2 is also very entertaining. And Baptiste now, of course, in the tank here, having all those options in hand. There's another island. Well, actually, the first island. Tapping 2 here. There's a Time Walk. Oh, that is really good with the full grip of cards. It looks like it's resolving. So after this turn, he's got another turn. Oh, there's an Ancestral Recall. Wow. So powerful. Gonna go back up to 7 again. And he gets another turn. We're gonna draw 3 cards. Yeah, it's looking really good here now all of a sudden for Baptiste, taking that extra turn after this one. Looks like he is going to tap the white here. If he does, he's kind of inviting Luke to kind of use his Chaos Orb on the end step. Then again, I really wonder if Luke has a counter spell in hand and just keeping counter magic open. There we see a Soul Ring. Gonna tap 3. What are we gonna see for 3? Oh, there's a Demonic Tutor, 1 mana floating. Wow, and what a turn for Baptiste, by the way. Finding Time Walk, Ancestral Recall, Demonic Tutor. I mean, that is pretty sick. And he's really putting Luke in a difficult position. And I guess if you're Baptiste, you're going to go for Mind Twist here. And the next turn, in your extra turn, you're going to twist the hand of Luke. And if that all works out for him, it's looking very bad for Luke. Unless, of course, Luke has that counterspell to protect himself from that Mind Twist. So yeah, very, very, very spooky place to be in for Luke here. I mean, I feel next turn if Baptiste did look for a Mind Twist and he's able to resolve it and Luke doesn't have a counterspell, it's pretty much game. But let's first see what's going to happen. So now he's going to take his extra turn, untapping everything. Gonna untap up, keep draw. I would be surprised if we're not going to see a Mind Twist here. There we see a Mishra's Factory. Gonna tap the Underground Sea for black. Gonna tap 3 cards in hand for Luke as well. There's the Mind Twist. Okay, now the question is, are we going to see a counterspell? No, just losing 3 lands here, 2 islands in the city. Yeah, it's looking really good here for Baptiste. Baptiste passing the turn. Yeah, this is really tough. I mean, if you're Luke, you just got to hope that you find a draw 7 from the top. But then, even then, the question is, can you resolve it? Another good card would be, of course, a Mind Twist of his own. Passing the turn here. And Baptiste also passing the turn. Again, something that we saw in Game 1 as well. Baptiste is pretty okay with being the control player here. Accepting that it's just going to be a slow game for him. Tapping 4 here, by the way. Okay, he is going to play a Suchi. I thought he passed the turn. I guess he didn't. Going to play out the Suchi here and then pass the turn. There we see an activation of the Chaos Orb for the Suchi, but a Disenchant in response. And there's a pass. Yeah, and Luke is just in a difficult position here, right? He's in top deck mode. It's got to be tough for him. I mean, a Brain Geyser would be nice, but it's so risky. All those cards in hand for Baptiste. He is counting. Perhaps he's got a Brain Geyser.
Ik heb 9 maanden. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I mean, if he has it, he's got to play it out, right? Or does he have a Fireball? Is he counting the mana for a Fireball on the life total here of Baptiste? He's got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can play a Fireball for 8, which is not enough. Or are we going to see a Brain Geyser here? We're going to see a Fireball. I think it's a Fireball of 7 now? 2, 4, 7. Oh, there's a blue Elemental Blast though, but there's a red Elemental Blast to protect it. Is he going to put him on 3 here? Am I missing something? It's going to go to 2, okay. And I think this is a good decision by Luke. You know, you're like, okay, I'm going to get you in bolt range. I know I'm playing 4 chains, 4 lightning bolts. If I can just draw them, I win the game. I'm on 16. So it's going to take him at least 3 turns. There's a Mox Pearl. Expecting an attack for 6 here. That would put Luke on 10. And this is such an interesting matchup because you see exactly what we saw in game 1, that Luke gets so close, but can he finish it? That is the big question. And remember, Baptiste already up a game. If he wins this, he is the champion of the first edition of the Seaman Cup. Are we going to see the animate here? No, we're not. Changing his mind. Or he is animating. Swinging in for 6. Putting Luke here on 10. Passing the turn. And I mean, of course he can now attack for 2. So I'm expecting Baptiste to have a disenchant here. But I think you've got to try, right? Finding a card from the top as well. And there we see a dice coming in onto the battlefield. Maybe it's good to explain here the setup of this tournament. At the Seaman Cup, we played 6 rounds. There was no top 8. But at a certain point, this is table 1 of the tournament. So you reach like match number 4 and match number 5. So match number 5 was kind of the semifinals. And now at top 6, at round number 6, the 2 best performing decks are playing against each other. So the winner is also going to be the winner of the event. And now they're running out of time, so they have 5 turns left. Here we see a Shatter being played, and there's a Swords in response. And of course, this is very good news for Baptiste, right? Because he's already 1 game ahead. So if this second game turns into a draw, then he's won this final match. And that means he's also the winner of the Seaman Cup. But let's first see what's going to happen. Oh, also a disenchant here on the factory. So after this, I believe 4 more turns to go. So Baptiste can of course now swing in with his factory, put Luke here on 10. But it's looking really good for him being on that cozy 6. There's the animate, there's the attack for 2. Gonna put Luke here on 10. There's the pass. So that's another turn gone. So turn number 2 here. Nothing here for Luke passing the turn. Turn number 3. We only have 5 turns in total. 5 extra turns. Then the game's finished. There's the attack, putting him on 8. So this is the last turn for Luke. Luke has to find a draw 7 to then find the burn that he needs to win the game. Needs to do something here. 2 cards in hand. If not, it's probably going to be a draw. And that means that Baptiste wins this because he won game number 1. This is the last turn here. Is Baptiste our new champion? There's the attack. 6 life left. That's it. Baptiste winning here the Seaman Cup, the very first edition in Zeeland, the Netherlands. And all I can say is it's been an absolute blast. And here we can see the winning deck of the Seaman Cup. And that was another tournament in the books. And man, it's been an absolute blast here to play at the Seaman Cup. My gratitude to, of course, the Seaman crew. I'm really looking forward to come back again next year, if there's going to be a next year. I think there is a next year in the pipeline. So I would love to join that event again. All I can say, it was really well organized. It was fun. It does feel a bit odd to have a final kind of being stopped because of time. But then again, that was the setup of the tournament. They played 6 rounds. Every round was 50 minutes. And of course, then in round number 6, you're going to see the two best decks playing at that table number 1. That's exactly what we just looked at. Again, a big congratulations to Baptiste for winning this tournament. And I would also like to thank you for watching another episode right here on Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school Magic. And before you go, please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out more about that. And the cool thing is, if you become a patron, you can join all the online tournaments that I organize with Timmy Talks. You can also join the Discord, and you can get your name in the end scroll and maybe even play a game against me. So if that sounds interesting, please check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks. For now, thank you very much for watching, and let's go to the end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. She rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way up she rises. Way up she rises. Way up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scout to the hose, my son. Put him in the scout to the hose, my son. Put him in the scout to the hose, my son.
Igitus figitus somba kazee.